Hello, and welcome to the Chronic Noob. I'm your host, Naomi Alstrom. I wanted to hold on one moment. I wanted to first off thank the Thinker Growth community for partnering with me. Um, the Thinker Growth community is a community built around people being able to come and grow in their careers, um, learn the learn the skills necessary to make their voice heard. We believe that if you have a message that you think will change the world, then you're doing the world a disservice by not sharing it. And we also believe that you should be really good at sharing that message. So the Think Your Growth community is where people can come to learn how to share their message in a way that will speak the loudest and influence the most people. Now, today's topic. It's interesting. This came to me kind of as a shower thought, if you will. Today's topic is potent proof versus potent promises. And have you ever heard the phrase, the proof is in the pudding? Or actions speak louder than words? Or when someone shows you who they are, believe them? This concept kind of goes into that a little bit. And I had a scenario that happened, well, a few scenarios, and I'll get into both of them, or two of the most prominent ones for me, at least. I'll get into them a little bit because I do think it's important to share where the root of the topic comes from, in order to introduce it properly. I want you to ask yourselves these questions, though. Can you depend on your team? Can you trust your boss, colleague, spouse, friend, or family member? Is there a relationship you don't trust? How do you know you can trust that person? This goes into all relationships, and it gets into, I want to make sure that we touch on how it comes into play when it comes to the professional world as well. How do you know you can trust them? How do you know? How do you know? How do you know you're living in reality? How do you know you're trusting them in this relationship, in this business partnership, in this romantic relationship, in this new friendship? How do you know it's something you can trust? How do you know that? How do you know? Well, I had a scenario last week. This is the second episode of my podcast, and I'm doing it live streaming, so I guess it's a broadcast, but it's also a podcast, so I guess that would make it a broadcast? Sure. I'll keep it. I had a scenario last week. My colleague Jason was going to be my guest on the show, and we had a tech check, and he didn't show. He didn't contact me, but I wasn't nervous. And I thought that was interesting because it was the very first episode of my podcast. I wasn't concerned. I wasn't concerned about whether or not I could trust that work relationship. I didn't have to worry about that. And the reason being is because every other appointment we've had, whether it be a planning meeting, whether it be content creation, whether it be Every other business meeting we have had, he has showed up in full, right? Now I have another friend who, um, and if you saw my first episode, he didn't end up being there. So, and he had very good reason to not be able to show up, like, and I could trust that. I could trust that. Now, I have another scenario where I was kind of going through something this last year, and I had a friend of mine. Um, this one because it has more of a negative context. I'm not going to go too much into detail. I don't need to air anyone's dirty laundry. Um, but I was going through something, and this friend wanted to show support. And is there anything you need? How can I support you? That kind of thing. And I didn't need anything. I had it. I was going through it and I had it and I was figuring it out on my own. But I was like, hey, if there is, I like to play online games. And I was like, hey, if you want to play online games with me, let's game sometime. Um, every time, and it wasn't something that I needed. It was just an outlet for me, right? So it's not like I wasn't getting what I needed. It's not like I wasn't getting support. I was figuring things out on my own. There wasn't a need in particular that needed to be filled. It was just a matter of, hey, that's an outlet for me. If you want to hang out, let me know. They set up multiple times, and they didn't follow through. And not that I need people to play games with me. That's not a need. But this person would, and I'm not talking like once or twice getting blown off. I'm talking about almost every single day would be setting something up. Almost every single day, something would come up. And every single time, what came to mind is the words of this person, oh yeah, I'm there for you, whatever you need, whatever you need. But they couldn't even show up for something that wasn't even a need. And I would always feel anxiety, self-soothing to the tune of promises, like, is that person really showing up in a small way? So, and the reason I thought of potency being the word that I put on this is because with my colleague not coming to a previous appointment or an appointment that we had, what came to my mind was proof that this was an abnormal scenario. Proof, concrete proof that I had experiences that I had had where I knew that this was a unique scenario. And as you could see, he was able to make it to the actual podcast. But with this other friend of mine, I, whenever it would happen again, I'm talking like it happened several dozen times, not just like once or twice. Whenever there would be that letdown, being blown off, my mind to kind of comfort, soothe, justify, whatever it was, what would come to my mind was promises. Promises that were made, words, right? So I thought of how interesting that was. The potency of proof versus the potency of promises. This comes into reliability. This comes into genuinity. This comes into actions speak louder than words, and how you can trust something. Can you depend on your team? Can you trust your boss, colleague, spouse, friend, or family member? How do you know? If something goes awry in that relationship, what is going through your head? When something negative happens in that relationship, what is going through your head? Is it words that they've repeated that you can play on repeat? It's a broken record. Or is it action? Is it something they've done? I really want to bring this to light, in the sense that we learn to trust people little by little, step by step, um, through experiences we have with them, right? So we like the idea of people. I think we all have like kind of rose-colored lenses on, right? When we meet somebody, when we start a new friendship, when we start a new working relationship, whatever it is, right? We have rose-colored lenses on. And we see flaws as we go, but when that relationship is tested, again, what comes to mind? Um, Building trust and building dependability isn't something that happens overnight. It's just not. But breaking it, that can happen overnight. It takes one instance. Now, the full title of this podcast is Potent Proof versus Potent Promises. Are you in reality or a farce? Are you in reality or a farce? This goes into my next question. How can your friends, family members, spouse, friend, colleague, boss, can they depend on you? How do they know? What does that look like? How do they know they can depend on you? Now, what if you dropped the ball on that project? What if you haven't been a reliable person? What if you broke trust with a loved one? What if they can't depend on you? That might have been my stomach. Oh, I'm a little bit hungry. That's okay. What if they can't depend on you? What then? This is very, very important. I guess I want this to be a little bit of a reality check. Are you on repeat? Do you show up? Do you follow through on the things you say you'll follow through on? Or whenever they get frustrated with you, do you bring to their memory things that you've said? Are you expecting somebody else to live a farce? To save face? Now, knowing how to discern who to trust, what to trust, and how to build that dependability, those are going to make you a prime candidate for promotions, for projects at work, for people to look at when hiring out. So this is it's key. And obviously hold on, gotta gather my thoughts for a second. I'm a little nervous, can you tell? This is my first episode with just flying solo. So it takes one instance of broken trust. If you want to be up for that promotion, if you want to be up to be hired, If you want people to trust you with that project, you need to have built that proof with other people. You need to have built that proof with other people. If you want people to rely on you in your relationships, in your leadership positions, and whatever it is, you need to have built up that proof. Stop saying things. Stop saying encouraging things. Stop saying you will, you will, you will. You need to show up. You need to follow through. You have to follow through. And on the flip side of that, you need to know whether or not you are in reality. If there's a stressful scenario that you're in, whether it's with your job, with a project, with a colleague, whether it's a personal relationship, whatever it is, when something goes wrong, what is going through your head? What is going through your head? Is it experiences or is it words? If you've broken trust happens when somebody realizes that they've been living a farce. Trust is broken when someone wakes up and sees that the promises are more, they're giving more potency to the promises than to the proof, which is why building trust is so hard because people come out of the farce that they've been living and they realize that they are not living in reality. They realize that you've been expecting them to live a farce. Do you feel like you're on repeat to soothe people when they feel like you've let them down? Do you feel like someone else's words are on repeat when something happens that's hurt you? If the answer is yes, you're living in a farce and you're giving more potency to promises than to proof. Here's the good news. You can change it. You can change it. You can start anytime. You really can. You can start anytime. Um, Now, trust is built up over time. It can be broken in a second. Um, but usually it takes a bit to break it because we're going to believe what we're going to believe, right? Like I said, rose-colored lenses, whether that's a new friendship, relationship, job, we have those rose-colored lenses on and we want to believe that it's going to be a good scenario. But little by little, there could be things that happen that kind of break down our trust, whether it be in the company, in our friendships, in our team. Then one day you realize the proof isn't there. It's the words that are there. You need to give people a chance to build it back. And what that looks like is I feel like blank, or blank happened. This is how I feel about it. Is that what you meant? This is something that is affecting me in this way. I actually had a scenario not too long ago where I had a relationship that I felt betrayed. And I expressed that. I vocally, I'm feeling betrayed. I feel betrayed by this. This doesn't feel right to me. I feel betrayed. If someone is honorable and they value integrity and they want to build that trust, and they want to keep you in reality and trust them on a reality level, what that will then look like is I did blank. I should not have. I am sorry. Or or if it's something that you maybe took the wrong way, they can explain that. That's that'll look more along the lines of, "I did blank. It affected you like this. That's not what I meant. Here is what I meant, but I am sorry that it affected you like that." Right? That's having autonomy for somebody. That's that's how they show you that they gave you autonomy, is by acknowledging that they did something that was potentially harmful, right? Um, if they're justifying their actions or if they're putting, responsibility for their actions onto you and repeating like a broken record things they've said before, but their actions don't add up, that's not somebody who's interested in you trusting them on a reality level. In my particular scenario, I made a decision. I brought it up with this person that I was feeling betrayed. Um, I still put some faith out there, put some faith feelers out there like, "Hey, I showed a leap of faith in one way or another," and, um, it in that moment, that day that I said, "Hey, I'm feeling betrayed by this. I feel like this is not, um, this isn't this isn't true to what I had. I feel misled. I feel betrayed. I feel like there are promises made that aren't being kept." And that day, that very day, I realized that that might need to be, a relationship I needed to walk away from. I wasn't sure if I'd be walking away that day or if I needed to fake it and play the long game. Um, because sometimes you do. Sometimes you do. You don't wanna be contentious. Like, there's not a need for contention. Stand up for yourself. Speak a little louder if someone's trying to squash you speaking up for yourself. But there are ways to avoid contention, and, unfortunately, it did come to a point in time where I did everything I could for that relationship. I, made sure that, um, I kept integrity on my end. I communicated what I needed to communicate. Um, I gave olive branches where I could, but unfortunately, it ended up being a thing where I needed to go a different direction, and quite abruptly. I didn't know I was gonna be making that decision until the decision was made. Um, but that one, again, with the rose-colored lenses, you don't know until you know. And once you realize you're living a farce, you put down the promises, you pick up the proof, and give that the potency. You give that the power, and you check into your reality. How are your relationships looking? Where's the potency for you? Is there a relationship of yours that's causing stress? Where's the potency? Is it the promises or the proof? If you've broken trust, start building the proof. It's not going to be in words you say. It's not going to be in, "Oh, I'll show up next time. Oh, I'll do better at that. Oh, I'm working on it." Nope, 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 nope. Those are promises. Those are promises, babe. You need to understand. You need to understand. Actions do speak louder than words. If you want to be a dependable person for potential clients, employers, colleagues, friends, significant others, you need to provide proof. You need to show up. You need to follow through. You can start anywhere. Start today. Make sure when you're hiring someone, whether as a client, whether you're being a client or a potential employer of theirs, What are you relying on? Is it proof of their work ethic or is it promise? Make sure you're giving potency to the proof and not the promises. Um, I think I've covered basically everything I wanted to about that. Um, that word came to mind though. Again, this is a shower thought. Okay, I think we're back. I think my stream had some issues. I think that's okay though. Um, when my colleague didn't show up, I was surprised at how much at ease I felt. Um, whereas when my friend wouldn't show up for something that wasn't even needed, right? Um, when it was my first episode of a stream, that's kind of a big deal. But when it was even for something that wasn't even needed, um, a social interaction, it was stressful. It was stressful when I got blown off, even for something that wasn't needed. Whereas this other thing where I thought where it was needed, I wasn't stressed, and I was like, well, and I just thought the proof was potent. There was potent proof. Um, there's very, very strong proof that I could rely on to know that that person was going to show up and that it would work out the way that it needed to. What are you relying on in your relationships, in your business ventures? What are you relying on? Potent promises or potent proof? What are you expecting others to rely on from you? Potent promises or potent proof? Are you living in reality or a farce? And are you expecting others to live in reality or a farce? Show up, follow through, and believe actions over words so you can make sure 100% that you're living in reality. Thank you so much for being here and hearing me and talk about my shower thoughts. That was probably loud. Sorry. I wanted to also let you guys know if you feel like you learned something here, something that can help you, whether in your personal life or your professional endeavors. I would love to hear a comment or a message about how that impacted you and what change you're making to move forward with it. So leave a comment wherever you can. And also, if you found value in what you learned here tonight, again, I am partnered with the Thinker Growth community, and we teach people how to use their voice to achieve their dream and to share their message that can change the world. I encourage you to check it out and also maybe come to our networking event that we are having tonight. It's called Weekly Wind Down for Driven Dreamers. I think that was the wording. Weekly Wind Down for Driven Dreamers. It's in the Thinker Growth community, and if you are on LinkedIn, you can find it in Thinker Ventures. That'll be happening in about 15 minutes, so hope to see you there. Yeah, thank you so much for joining tonight, and I will see you later.